Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can easily get legendary gears. So first of all, I want to show you the legendary gears that I have. I have quite a bit of them. And so I'm going to talk about the three ways you can get legendary gears, and then I'm going to talk about, of the three, the easiest way to get there. You need to make some progress to your account to get there. So I'm going to talk about what kind of stuff you need to do to be able to get there. So the three ways to get it, the easiest way actually, is from field exploration. Now, you need to go to at least hard. In the hard stage, these legendary gear drops pretty frequently, but you can see the recommended combat power is about 140,000. It's actually not that bad. I was able to start doing it around like 100,000. Even like, the normal stages like 1 to 9, it says the recommended CP is 100,000. It's again a lot less than that. I think it's about like 80,000 or so. You can probably do it, maybe even less. The stages 1 to 9 don't drop gear as often, but one of the stars ones, like the ones that uses the green maps, they drop really frequently. Like I think it drops like almost once every 2 hours or so. That's how I was very easily able to farm. So my story is that I actually went up to very hard chapter 1 and I wasn't able to do it, so for like 3 days I did nothing but just farm gears here, and that's how I was able to basically get all the gears that you see here. It was very easy to get just from farming there. But let me just quickly touch on the other places that you can get legendary gears. The other one is from the shop. So from the mole shop here, you can buy them. Armors you can buy for 1 million, and weapons you can buy for 2 million. In the early stage of the game where you don't have any gears, I highly recommend especially getting a weapon, because that's what I did. I'm going to talk about it later, but for now I'm just going to mention that I highly recommend at least getting one piece of weapon. It doesn't matter what the set is, because the stats are a lot more important than whatever set it's from, in my opinion. And finally, the third place to get it is from raids. Um, I find that the drop rate of raids, even at level 10, is a bit low. So it's not as reliable as the third method, well, the first method that I talked about, but it is a way to get it. And especially if you're doing this, like, you can also get the from tier 6 onwards, you can get this crafting material, and using the crafting material, you can also craft the gears that you want as well. It only costs 2 of these materials to craft armor, it costs 5 to craft a weapon, and it costs 10 to craft an accessory. So these are the three places to get the gears, and as I mentioned, the easiest way to get it is actually from the field exploration, to go to, hard field exploration. I'm assuming the very hard is even better, but I haven't got there yet. But it'll probably drop even more frequently, I'm assuming. So anyway, so I'm going to talk about how I got to this stage, how I'm able to do the hard mode. So when I started this game, I very early on I found one piece of legendary gear in the mall shop that I talked about, and that gear was actually this one, this piece here, the HP set weapon, and I immediately bought it because this let me just show you what a 0 plus 0 looks like. A plus 0 gives you 566 attack. This is even more than like a plus 10 piece of a blue gear. Let me see if I have a blue gear that enhanced to plus 10. Yeah, this one. So like this gives you 471. This is a plus 11. And a plus 0 already gives you way more than that, like 566. So I bought it regardless of the set, and this set is actually not that great. I mean, HP is okay, but it's not fantastic. But I bought it anyway. And as soon as I bought it, I started enhancing like any red, any red, this one, any of the enhancement stones I found. I used it on the weapon, and I got it to about plus 10 by the time I finished, I think, easy. Yeah, by the time I finished easy mode, it was around plus 10. And then as I was doing the normal mode, I got some of the yellow enhancement stones, and I used those to get it to plus 15. And at plus 15, it gives me basically this much attack, like 1223. This is like so much more than any blue gear, right? And even if the set is not great, like crit is obviously a better set for a DPS, but ignoring that, just the amount of attack that you get from this is just insane. And basically, you really want your attack stat to be really high. Like the difference between your attack and the monster's defense, all your skills are multiplied by that difference. So you really want your attack stat to be very high. And so, because I have such a good, weapon, I really wanted to focus on using that to my strength. So I took my DPS, in this case Rachel. I really like Rachel because I was able to use her everywhere. And with Rachel, I started enhancing my potential. So I mean, now I have it to 15, but at the time I think I had sort of like, I put it up to 9, and then I put it up to 12, and slowly I put it up to 15. Um, the only time I did not put potential in Rachel was when I was putting it into either Karen or Shay, because I needed them to survive a boss's hit. Like for example, Pasma in chapter 8, like he can target the backline and just attack, right? So if Karen's getting one shot, then it doesn't matter how good my Rachel's DPS is. She needs to heal. She needs to revive. So I needed her to not get one shot. So I would put potential into those guys, like into Karen and Shay. Rudy is usually able to survive one hit, but Karen and Shay, I would put like their defenses and their HP, a little bit of potential into there, make sure they can survive one hit, and as long as they can, then I would put whatever leftover stuff I have into Rachel's attack. So if I have her potential around 12, I think he gave me like 600 attack. So 600 attack from here, 1200 attack from the plus 15 weapon. That's like almost 2000, right? Like it's like around 1800 something. But let's just round it up to 2000 attack. So with that huge, uh, boost in attack, I basically like she was like basically my only DPS. The three characters I used in most of the content was Rachel and Rudy, Shay, and Karen. And all three of them, Rudy, Shay, and Karen, all have defensive abilities and like shields and heals and decrease attacks for the enemy, increase increase defenses for the allies and stuff like that. So basically, like all three of them would play some kind of supporting role, and Rachel is the only one doing any kind of damage. That was how I was playing. Um, Now, I ran into a little bit of trouble against bosses that do suppression because Rachel is what I invested in. So, for example, if I'm doing like Gigantus and I need to bring Len instead, my Len was actually quite underleveled and it was kind of difficult for me to do it. Um, I think she's only like level 36 now, and remember I did this like a while ago. You know, and so actually, where is she now? Len. Um, I can't seem to find her, but it's okay. Oh, no, this is the other Len. So anyway, it doesn't matter. Oh, here, there she is. She's 36 now. So at the time, I think she was like 32 or 34, because I used all my blue soul stones into Shay because I really wanted her to be, as powerful as she can be. So, units like Len obviously suffered because I wasn't really like, even if I transfer all my gear from Rachel to Len, she does a fraction of Rachel's damage, right? So I would have a little bit of trouble against these bosses that needed like Len or Shane for suppression. Thankfully, I got lucky with a pet, and no, it's not this one. It's not Yon He. The lucky pet that I had was actually Valder, because this skill, all allies are immune to damage for 2 seconds. I found out that in any story mode, easy, normal, hard, and very hard, the boss only uses the suppression skill once, and it's usually around when their HP is about 20%. So for the story mode, as far as the story is concerned, I was able to just use this as a pet and use this skill as he's casting his suppression and basically negate it. So my party doesn't get wiped out. And if my party doesn't get wiped out because of the boss's suppression skill, then I don't need to bring Len or Shane, right? Because I only bring them to suppress the boss when he uses that skill, and now I'm able to use a pet to take care of that. So I no longer need to bring them, and so I was able to bring Len as a DPS for basically any story mode, any story boss. Um, I couldn't bring Rudy all the time because, for example, against the burn units, I would need to bring, Gui, and against enemies that cast freeze, I would need to bring Adele, and so on and so on. So I would need to bring the different units for different tanks for the different resistances, but I would always bring Rachel for whatever stage I was doing. I don't think actually I never took Rachel out of any story mode. I was always able to bring her. No, this is not the same for raids. I will talk about raids in a little bit, but for all story modes, I was able to bring Rachel, and this let me climb story really fast. Like I was able to do easy and normal pretty quickly. I think my CP was around 60 something, maybe like 65, 68 when I finished normal within a few days. I think like within a week for sure. And after I finished normal, I started with hard. What I did when I finished normal was I actually went to the normal, and I think I farmed this stage because this stage drops some crit gear. I didn't get any red gears, but it gave me some experience for my team. It gave me so I think it gave me some enhancement stones or something. But this was what I used. I would farm all my normal on my regular maps here. I did not use the green maps. I waited until hard for that. So I was just building a stockpile of those green maps. Um, but yeah, that's what I did. I think I farmed for like a couple of days, building up my units, building up potentials. Doing dailies, getting more potential from the dungeons from dailies, and then I started doing hard. It did take me a little bit of time to finish hard, but that was what I did. This is the strategy I used. I still did the same thing. I still used the Valder pet. I did not invest into Len or Shane. I was able to use these guys, this pet and Rachel for everything. Um, Whenever a unit struggled, like for example, if I was against the pirate boss and uh, you know Gui was struggling because he was dying too much or something, I actually had to figure out why he was dying. It was not because he doesn't have enough defense. It was actually because his skill wasn't high enough, like his passive. It's 19 now because I mean now I have like all the best stuff, right? So I was able to get it 19. But back then it was like 8 or 9 or something, and I had to figure out like I had to farm these gears because I didn't have a full set of blue Oath of the Transcender set. So I had to actually farm for this, and once I farmed for it and I increased his skill level by 3, then I was able to do it, and then I had to transfer that over to Adele, and so on and so on, basically. So that is that's in a nutshell what I did. Uh, and it's not going to work for everyone, because one of the things is like you might not have Valder, and there are other blue pets as well that have the exact same skill. All allies immune to damage for 2 seconds. You might not have that. If you don't have that, this is going to be a little bit more tricky because you need to, beat those bosses some way, right? Like you need to beat Gigantus somehow, and if you don't have this pet, you have to use Len, and so you have to invest more in Len to make sure that she doesn't die, right? Um, I don't recommend pulling for pets. I also don't recommend pulling for gear at all because it's just a waste of rubies in my opinion. But one thing you can do is you can use the fuse. So you go to Pet Soulstone Fusion, and basically you can put like these green and whites basically, right? You can also use the auto fuse as well, and it's a faster way to do it basically. Um, the rate is not high, but I did get 2 different blue pets from doing this. So you might get lucky, and you might be able to get Valdir or one of the other pets if you don't already have one. So I did not. And by the way, there isn't really anything else you can do with these pet soulstones anyway. So you might as well use it to try to get better pets um, that lets you do more content faster. Especially if you can get Valder and do the same strategy as I'm doing, that's great. The other thing is that you just might be unlucky, and you might never not find a weapon in the mole shop, right? And if you don't find it, then I mean, it's going to be a little bit more harder for you to replicate what I did. You if this is the case, you then would have to farm it from the raids, right? So you would have to figure out how to beat at least up to raid level 6, and once you beat raid level 6, then you can repeat this and farm up the Gigantus pirate fleet loot or whatever raid you're doing. It doesn't have to be this one, it can be any of the other 3 as well, but you need to farm 5 of this item, and then you can finally craft a weapon. And I would highly recommend trying to aim for that weapon piece instead of an armor piece, because the difference in stats from that weapon is a lot more than the difference in stats from the armor. So that's what I recommend you do. Um, but yeah, this is what I did. I had a very good weapon, and then once I had that weapon and this pet, I was then able to execute the strategy of investing most of my stuff into one unit, and that one unit was Rachel. I don't really recommend enhancing armor pieces. I mean, now I do because I have like so much gears. Like even enhancement stones drops pretty frequently from this from the hard mode. Sorry, the hard mode as well, the hard mode exploration. And like look at this, like I have like so many of these that I started like transcending this because I had like 3 of them and I don't need anymore because I have weapons on like everyone, right? And like I just have like so many things because it drops so frequently now. I think I have like 4 of this shoe, so I can probably make this like a +3 if I want to, because it just drops so frequently. So if you can get to this stage, if you can get to hard 3, sorry, not hard 3, if you can like completely finish the hard mode and story and get to very hard 1, you don't have to actually do a very hard 1, you just need to be there. Once you're able to be there, you can start doing any of these 3. This is the one I'm doing because I really like this accessory, because I think it's a really good effect. I haven't gotten it to drop yet, but if it does, it's great. But if you can't do this one, you can try one of the others as well. I think this one is actually easier, the Forest of Ruin, than the Snowfield. That's what I found anyway. Um, and when I started, so I was around like 100,000 in power when I got to the stage and I started the first time. I was not able to auto farm this, so I had to farm it like it wasn't fully manual, but I had to at least avoid the skill shots. Um, so it was a bit it was a bit slow going at first, and eventually as I started getting gear and I started putting things, you know upgrading my units, because when I got to the stage I had like I think maybe 4 or 5 pieces of legendary gear. I got some from the story, of course. I had that weapon that I had, and then I had like 2 more armor pieces that I was able to buy from the shop. But as I was doing this, I slowly started to replace all my blue gears with legendary gears, and I think around like 110, I was able to 110, sorry, 110,000 power. I was able to start autoing this, except for the boss. The boss I could not auto. I still had to like dodge all the skill shots, or else I would die. But now around like I think I'm at 117,000 in power. Now I can like pretty much auto farm this, like the entire thing. Um, so I can farm a little more faster. I can just like leave it on and go have a coffee or something. Um, but one thing I want to mention, if you're replicating the strategy that I'm doing, where I'm investing a lot into Rachel, Karen is like the backbone of the team in a way, right? Because the other units are not as good as Rachel. Like Rachel does the DPS, but the others are not so defensive, right? So they will, I expect them to die, and when they die, Karen really becomes a centerpiece of the team. That she is the one that makes the team survive. So because of that, whenever I'm playing, my point of view is always on Karen. Like sometimes I would even leave this off and make sure she is away from everybody else, so she doesn't get in the same AoE. So when they die, she can res everyone. And sometimes I've even put like my defensive gear that I usually have on Rudy onto Karen, because if she gets one shot, I can't do this level. Like whatever stage I'm on, if she's getting one shot, I can't complete it. So I have to put defensive gear on her. I have to invest in her potential. I have to figure out some way to increase her defense and her HP, that she doesn't get one shot, and then that's how I'm able to do it. I still have to be very careful. Even if she doesn't get one shot, she most likely does get two shot. If a boss is focusing on her, what I do is I turn this off. Usually the boss is attacking whatever tank I have, Rudy or Gui or Adele or whatever stage I'm doing. The boss is attacking the tank. If it switches over to Karen, I turn off this thing and I just run around with Karen. I don't attack. And while not attacking, the boss usually soon changes aggro to somebody else that's attacking. I think that's how it works. To be honest, I think that's how the mechanics works. Like whatever skills you're using, if the boss is like, okay, I want to attack this person because he's doing more damage or has more skills that causes me to switch aggro to that person, I turn it off. Like I turn this off so that I'm only controlling her, and I run around. And while I'm running around, the other three are attacking the boss. So eventually, and usually within a few seconds, like say 5 or 10 seconds, the boss changes aggro to another unit, and then I'm able to keep Karen safe, and then I'm able to use her skills and keep everybody alive. That's basically the strategy. So this is what I did. This is how I was able to get to this stage. And obviously, like I have 117,000 CP now. Most of this is coming from these legendary gears that I have, but I was only able to get to those legendary gears because of field exploration. Now I mentioned raids. I actually had a hard time with raids. I was for the longest time. I think I was stuck on like tier 7. Like I was doing tier 7 raids while I was in like very hard one. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? Because like tier 8, tier 7 are easier than very hard one stage. But the reason for that is because my len was crappy, right? And so this is the team I had to use. I had to use like these 4 units, and uh, after tier 7, I find that for the raids, the boss would use the suppression skill twice, so the trick of using Wilder didn't work anymore. So I had to get like very lucky to do tier 7, but I most of the time I was just kind of stuck on tier 6. But that's okay in my opinion, because gears, like more powerful gears, like these legendary gears, drop way more frequently from the hard stages anyway. So it was worth the trade off to be a bit behind on these raids, uh, and instead focus on the story and start getting gear from the story. I think that was what I did, and to me, I think that trade off was worth it, because now, I mean, now that I have all these legendary gears, I basically switched my gears over to Len and Gui, and I was able to do 10 like very easily. Even though Len was only, I think, like 34 when I did this, and Gui was like 40. I was still able to do it because I just have so many gears that like so many legendary gears that it makes up the difference in stats. But still, like when I think I did like a 10 clear on one of these, and I didn't get any drops. I didn't even get like this crafting material. So I think the drop rate on this is like quite low. So that's why I think it's okay to not focus on the raids and just focus on the story. um I don't know. I mean, that's what I recommend. But again, like not everybody is where I am. You might not have the pet you want to do this. You might not have the weapon. You might not have a legendary weapon that you're able to buy from the shop. And if that's the case, you can't unfortunately do what I did, because that strategy where you're having this one really strong carry like Rachel is probably not going to work, right? Um, but if you are able to do what I did, that's what I would recommend. I would recommend focusing on the story more than the raids. I mean, if you can't do the raids, go for it. Like if you already invested in Gui and you already have Len at a high level, like say 36 or 38 or whatever, then go for it. Like do whatever you can. But if you can't do the raids right now, uh, and you choose to instead focus on the story, I recommend that route because that's what I did, and I feel like that's paying off. I mean, I came back to the raids after I did this, and the raids have been a breeze now. And even if it's a breeze, I'm actually not getting so much benefit from it because the drop rate kind of just sucks. So that's what I did, and it's been great. Like I have a full outfit. Like all my 4 main characters have a full roster of legendary gears. And I'm able to, like I feel like this was a good progress for this account, and so this is what I recommend people do if you are able to do it. But there's no one way to play the game. You can spread out and invest in a bunch of characters if you want as well, um, and you can spread around your potentials to everybody, and invest like 666 as somebody else recommended, so that everybody benefits from the codex buff. But anyway, this is what I did. I wanted to share this information, and if it benefits you, you know, follow it. And if you have other questions or have specific questions about how I did something and you're having trouble with it, let me know as well. I'll do my best to help you out. But that's it for me for now. So I hope to see you guys on the next one. Take care now.